In that same interview that Obama spoke about James Comey, he was asked about what's going on with the Dakota Access Pipeline. Now, I mean, I imagine most of you know there has been really, the cops have been brutal to the protesters there. There are.
Is it the local police? I'm asking a question. Like
It is.
It's the local police coming out,
and it's also Morton County, which is actually the county I'm from. They have been bussing in people from police departments all around the Upper Midwest.
Okay.
Like, hey guys, there's an opportunity to beat and brutalize some natives. You want to come up and visit? Hell yeah!
I mean,
so they have that military style equipment because of. It's theirs. It's because of post 9/11
and I think
distribution. Okay,
and I think probably the reason why they're able to attract police departments from around that area is that a lot of these guys are like, time for us to try this stuff out. Yeah. I mean,
even though there's a protest in I think St. Paul, Minnesota, because their police department went up there, and people are protesting this, but the police still went.
I mean, we're going to get an opportunity to try out our equipment, and so they are. Like pepper spraying people, tear gassing people. They're using rubber bullets. They've got snipers on the. I think it's. I don't know. In some instances, they're preventing the machinery from doing their work, and in other instances, I think it's just a matter of intimidation. And on NowThis, Obama spoke to this question. I mean, look, there's two different fights that are going on here. But right now, it's not clear that there's two different fights. Because right now, their agendas are aligned. One of the agendas is for Native Americans to protect their land and their water. The other agenda is a broader environmental agenda to keep this pipeline from being built. And they're aligned at the moment. And I would imagine there's obviously not imagine. I know there's a lot of crossover in terms of these agendas. But it will be interesting to see if ultimately this pipeline is moved. If the protests against it can be maintained. But also understand the reason why, I don't know this for a fact, but this is based on just my own experience. The reason why they don't want to move this pipeline is probably less because of what's involved in moving this pipeline and more in setting precedent. Honestly, I think like one of the most insightful and profound moments in my understanding of the way these people operate came from Shannon Moore when she was talking about the fight they had up there to protect the bay in Alaska. And she had met with the lawyers for this mining company and said, like, why would you do this? It doesn't make any sense. And they're like, oh, yeah, we don't care about this situation. We just don't want to set the precedent. And it's also a principle that I learned in the context of like show business. When you see people walk off a television show and maybe sink the show's ability to go into syndication, and the studio says like, oh yeah, we're not going to bend to something like this, even though the money that they would shell out would be nothing in terms of what the returns are for that particular show, it's because they don't want to set a precedent. So with all that said, here is Obama on NowThis. And I don't know, this seems to me to be an invitation for protesters to come out and continue to put pressure.
One thing the candidates aren't really talking about is the Dakota Access Pipeline. Is that something that you would consider intervening in? People have called for your administration to make a call.
We're monitoring this closely. And, I think as a general rule, my view is that there is a way for us to accommodate sacred lands of Native Americans. And I think that right now the Army Corps is examining whether there are ways to reroute this pipeline
So that's a
in a way.
possibility, right.
So we're going to let it play out for several more weeks and determine whether or not this can be resolved in a way that I think is properly attentive to the traditions of the first Americans.
Is there something to be done about the way protesters are being treated right now, though? They're getting sprayed with rubber bullets. We're seeing some kind of shocking footage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging situation. I think that my general rule when I talk to governors and state and local officials, whenever they're dealing with protests, including, for example, during the Black Lives Matters protests, is there's an obligation for protesters to be peaceful, and there's an obligation for authorities to show restraint. And I want to make sure that as everybody is exercising their constitutional rights to be heard, that both sides are refraining from situations that might result in people being hurt.
Yeah.
Both sides do it.
I would suggest he find this YouTube thing and take a look at some of the crap that's going down there. But I mean, it sounds to me like he's saying, like, if protesters continue the pressure that they're putting on now, they may move it.
I think that's true, but I have to say I find the basic context of that response, given what's going on, pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, let it play out is not a good choice of words.
Let it play out. Breathe in some tear gas. Get beaten a little bit. See what happens. Long-term picture. All right, I got to go have a beer now with Jamie Oliver. Talking about rooftop gardens. Thanks for the interview. Fuck out of here.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Over. Subscribe.